Hello and welcome to the Top Order podcast. Not quite the great day here in Auckland that we might have hoped this time around. New Zealand back down to earth a little bit gloomy out the window, but still a lot of interesting things and positive things to talk to from a New Zealand perspective. We've got a Virat Kohli score once again, so plenty things coming up right after this. Boys, yeah, not quite the start we maybe had hoped for. At least definitely you and me, Raj, and Baldy, now that he's an honorary Kiwi in many respects from his fantastic effort on Fan Wars. If anyone hasn't seen that, Baldy in extremely, extremely good form, fighting the good fight against the Indian fans and giving them a geography lesson as well as a cricket lesson. Very, very pleased with how that went. But look, Raj, we'll come to you first because, New Zealand, it was always going to be a game for us where we saw where we were at, okay? I mean, we've won 4 from 4. We've played, to this point, sides that we thought we were going to beat, probably, on paper, at least, maybe not England, but England not quite going as well as we thought they might either in this tournament. So it was a real test against another unbeaten side. Both teams were going to see where they're at, and I don't know. Have we seen that we're in a good space, or are you a little bit downhearted after a loss today?
Yeah, I mentioned it a couple of times earlier in our pods. I don't think this game was the result of this game was massive for either team in this tournament. Just how results have played out, I'd rather lose this game and win the last one we play. So yeah, looking forward to that. I was very impressed with the intensity of this match. I really enjoyed how it actually ebbed and flowed all the way through. India getting a good start and New Zealand fighting back and trying to finish it off at the end. Didn't quite get it in their batting innings. I actually really liked that ebb and flow. And when we end up talking about commercialization and things like this is the kind of game that we want to see as a 50-over game going forward. Baldy, what did you make of the game? Do you have any summary comments?
Oh, look, summary comments really this is probably the first close game we've seen in the World Cup, and it befits the fact that it's two very, very good cricket sides, the two probably best performing, most consistent sides through the tournament so far, and we saw a really, really good game of cricket. It came down to the 48th, 49th over just about for India to chase down New Zealand's score. New Zealand were bowled out on the last ball of the 50th over, so there was plenty of entertainment for the fans, both at the ground at Dharamshala and also watching on television as well.
Yeah, boys, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I think, why don't we start actually with the teams? Because we've talked a little bit about Hardik being out and how that would change the balance of India's side. Raj, I'll come to you again. I mean, do you think that disrupted them, or in a way, was that helpful for them for the way they faced up against this New Zealand squad?
Look, I think it was helpful for them because of the players that it gave a little bit of a run in this tournament, and exposed them to a little bit of hardship. With Hardik out, it actually exposed that little weakness where they had to replace him with two players, which I think you mentioned, Stu, when we were talking about the possibility. So Shami and Sky both came in, but what it meant is that the batsmen really needed to stand up and do their job. With Jadeja batting at 7 and then Shami batting at 8, that tail looks extremely long. So it does expose a little bit of a weakness for India, but it was good for them to play a game like that and actually come out on top through a hard victory.
I don't really mind Jadeja at 8. I think it's the Shami at 9, Bumrah at 10. Shami at 8, Bumrah at 9 that I think would expose India if a bowling side could get them 6 down, 7 down. I think that would be the challenge. And of course, India took 3 pace bowlers into this game for the first time. Normally they take sort of 2 and 2 spinners and then have Hardik as their as their extra option. My question for you guys is: has Shami bowled well enough? He took 5 in this game for 54. Has he bowled well enough to keep his spot back in the side as they go forward?
I mean, he's done a great job. I think as the game was going, I kind of thought this was the side that I didn't want to see when I was, as a New Zealand fan, because of precisely that it meant that instead of having Shardul Thakur and Hardik Pandya to think to ourselves, okay, that's the fifth bowling option that we can attack, there was no I didn't think there was a weakness that we could go, okay, like here's our 10 overs that we attack. And I think Daryl Mitchell and Ravindra, when they were at the crease, they decided that the bowlers to attack were going to be Mohammed Shami and Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep Yadav, they did get to. He did end up coming back reasonably well. But Shami, wicket first ball with Will Young, they still did get to him a little bit, but the way he came back and bowled at the end was spectacular. And I think that, that's going to be a theme of probably, what we start to talk about next is the way India bowled up front and the way India bowled at the end. But I don't know. I mean, when this Indian side, their batting is going so well that I think they can afford to have Jadeja at 7 and those 4 bowlers. It's, yes, it's a luxury in that, yes, it's a concern probably that you think, okay, well, I certainly thought that from a New Zealand point of view. I thought when Jadeja was in, we get one more, we can run through them here. But their batting's so good, and the positive that you get from that bowling for having 5 absolute quality bowlers, I think it's worth it. Personally, I don't know if they'll do it, but I think it's certainly worth considering really, really strongly.
And it doesn't matter if they go with an extra spinner in that mould and drop one of those quicks, because then they bring Ravichandran Ashwin in, who gives them a lot of punch with their bowling attack, and is a reasonable batter. He's not too bad. So let's talk about the Indian bowling up front. They made life very, very hard for New Zealand. We got through, I think, the power play 2 for 20, 2 for 25 during the power play, and it looked like New Zealand were really struggling. India have really hit the nail on the head with their bowling in the power play in this tournament. They've been one of the best performing sides. Bumrah in particular has been just about unplayable. They've got a lot from Siraj in this game. But New Zealand fought back well with a great partnership between Rachin, Ravindra and Daryl Mitchell. Do we want to just pause here and give praise to some of those guys, because they fought back really hard in tough conditions against a really quality attack?
Yep. Just going back to that Shami question you said, I think that he benefited from the fact that the other bowlers in the team, or fast bowlers in the team, were Bumrah and Siraj, especially the way Siraj came out with the new ball, that Shami was the one that they had to attack. But India would have been wrapped with that first 10 overs. That catch by Iyer, the Conway wicket, was an incredible take early on, and it really set the tone. I know there was some regression in their fielding later on in the innings, but great early on, hard to score, hard to not be under pressure when that bowling was on point, and they just were not letting anything leak. We got back into it. Rachin and Daryl Mitchell, the mailman, Daryl Mitchell, delivers once again. I texted Stu, I said, Daryl Mitchell's going to have to go really well today again, and he did. But ultimately, from a team perspective, we got back to that 150 for 2, 150 for not many, around the 30 over mark, and that's where you want to be to launch a sort of offensive in the last 20 overs. Unfortunately, ultimately, we weren't able to capitalise on that. Shami again stood up at the death there with his bowling. If you can go back and watch his death bowling through those, so I think it was 47, 49 overs, incredible. He bowled really, really well and deserved all the wickets that he got. I think we lost 5 for 28 in our last 5 overs. Mm-hmm. If we change that and add, another 20, 25 runs, that could really change the sort of the result of this game. The other thing I just wanted to mention, with what you said, Stu, around Kuldeep, I really enjoyed the execution that we decided we were going to go out there and not let him dictate terms. And we took him apart. He did get 2 through the middle and late stages there, but I think our execution against him was really good.
Yeah, and I'll add on Mitchell. It was so impressive the way he came out to the crease. I mean, he's sort of making this his thing now, that he walks out and plays with positivity from ball one. He's been doing it for a long time now. We saw him come out the other day against Bangladesh and hit Shakib, I think it was, back over his head for 6 off his first ball. And Raj mentioned it before, it was so tough to score, and not even just tough to score. It felt like watching on TV, it felt like there was so much pressure on the New Zealand batters that it was just such a challenge to be out there, and even surviving was tough at times when, particularly Bumrah, who's just been superb in this tournament. But Mitchell, first ball, gets on the front foot, hits one through cover for 3, I think it was, and then just positive. And the way it seems like Rachin Ravindra really feeds off, I think that maybe, I was going to say he feeds off the other batter. I think that might be doing him a little bit of a disservice, because I think he also kind of adds to that. He's very communicative with his partner, and he brings a lot of positivity, I think, as well around what he does. But the way that they kind of got together, and it seemed like as soon as Mitchell started to get going, that gave Rachin a little bit more confidence to be himself and play his shots as well. And then they started running between the wickets. Obviously, they had a chance. You don't see Ravi Jadeja drop many, and that gave Rachin Ravindra, a bit of a life. And I think that was about 40. I think it might have been 40 for 3 there if he takes that catch, and then we're in a much different situation. But the way they ran between the wickets, it just added positivity to the innings, and that's something that I think probably only Daryl Mitchell at this point can add to quite the degree that he does right at the start of his innings.
Baldy, can I ask you a question just quickly? So Rachin Ravindra, how impressed are you with his sort of mental application? It's two innings now where he has come in against England and India. Not these are real heavyweights in the cricketing world, and he's come in early under pressure, and he's managed to put a score on the board, bat with a partner, and guide New Zealand to a position of strength.
Oh, he's massively impactful for New Zealand, and he deserves all the praise that he should get. I know that there are certain members of this podcast who've been on Team Ravindra for a long, long time, and he deserves all the praise that is coming his way so far in this World Cup, because, as you say, he's been in under pressure and in against excellent bowling early on in matches where he's had to really dig deep. But what's impressed me the most about Ravindra is that he has, like Mitchell, been really, really positive. He hits so well down the ground, particularly against spin, but also against the seamers. And he picked up anything that was on his pads and dispatched it for 4. The criticism of Ravindra in the past has been that he doesn't have the power game to hang with the likes of, these big finishing players and these more household names in world cricket. But you've seen it in this World Cup. He's able to put the ball to the fence and over the boundary. Okay, Mitchell hit balls out of the park, but Ravindra was able to get the ball into the outfield and get the ball away. So the way those two guys in particular decided that they were going to take on Kuldeep Yadav, they were going to hit him down the ground, even though India posted 2 guys back pretty much straight away, put long on and long off back and said, right, okay, you're going to have to hit over those guys. They still took it on. They hit the ball dead straight. And, Ravindra and the mailman both delivered on Sunday. So that was particularly impressive for me. The thing that I really liked about Daryl Mitchell was when he came in, yes, we saw the ball was swinging and seaming around, but the absolutely first thing he did was he went down the wicket at both of the bowlers and he made them change their length. He made them do something different. And in commentary, they were talking about, India dictated to New Zealand in that first 10 overs. But as soon as Mitchell came in the 8th, 9th over, he was down the wicket. He was walking down towards the bowlers. He made them change their game plan. You talk about positivity and everyone looks at how he hits the ball down the ground and hits it out of the park for 6. But actually, the most impactful thing for me was that he made their bowlers change their line and length, and he made them change their game plan. So I thought that was fantastic from Daryl Mitchell.
And so New Zealand sets up that platform, really, really good position to I guess, launch. I think it drinks, 16 overs to go, or maybe it was 18 overs to go. They were, I think I have it somewhere in front of me, 32 overs, 167 for 2. The platform, I think Shami still had 5 to bowl at that point, or 6 to bowl. Kuldeep still has 5 to bowl. And you're thinking, okay, New Zealand's about to go here. 300 is on. Raj, it didn't quite happen. And where's the balance for us in terms of India getting huge praise for the way they bowled at the end, or New Zealand not quite doing a good enough job with the bat there? Where do you sit on that kind of question?
Look, I think it comes down to also a little bit of conditions. Like you've seen it with the Australians as well, a very similar innings where they had a lot of runs at the top of the innings and then sort of faltered towards the end. When the ball gets older in India, the pitches are slower and lower. It's harder to score runs coming in, cold straight out of the dugout there. So I think that we needed to do better with our exploding towards the end. We had the likes of Phillips, Chapman. Anishan wasn't playing today, but he can also play that role. Those guys are in the team in that role. I disagree with Phillips batting at 6, but the role that he is playing within that team is to finish off the innings. He did not do that. Neither did Mark Chapman on this occasion. Can't take anything away from India. They bowled really, really good lines, really, really good lengths. They played like they were the home team.
Yeah, Shami was outstanding in particular, wasn't he? And, if you have a look at that score after 32 overs, the old adage that you double it and then take away 10 for every wicket that's lost. New Zealand were looking down the barrel of 310. And I think, as you said early on in the episode, Stuart, New Zealand probably finished 15 or 20 short here. A total of 300 would have been very difficult, I think, for India to chase down batting second. As it was, 273 all out in the 50th over, left India 274 to get, and they got away to another great start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Rohit, I was just plug to the Edges and Sledges podcast. I was just talking to DJ from them a little bit earlier this morning. We jumped on a call together for a bit of reaction on their podcast, so I think that'll be out in a day or so's time. But he really brought up Sharma and the way that he's kind of changed, the way he goes about his batting now. I mean, if we look back to 2019, he was obviously still been a very positive, hit the ball kind of player, but he was someone who maybe looked to bat the whole innings and get hundreds and things like that. Now he just goes hard from ball one, and the way that India was able to just hit boundaries, I think, was the standout thing for me, because New Zealand bowled a lot of good balls. They bowled a lot. They went past the outside edge. They bowled dot balls. We built up a few dot balls, and then Rohit Sharma would just smash it for 6, or Shubman Gill would hit a 4, or then later in the innings, someone like Shreyas Iyer came in and would just hit boundary after boundary after boundary. And yes, we picked up some wickets, but yeah, the way they got off to that start, when you're chasing 280 and you're getting off to quick starts, I think that's probably the difference between the two innings. New Zealand got off to a very slow start, so when they had to accelerate, it became difficult. India never really had to accelerate at any point because of the really nice start that they got into. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, New Zealand haven't quite been as penetrative as they might have been wanted to be with Henry and Bolt. I mean, any concerns there, Raj, about the way Trent Bolt? I would say he's still bowling reasonably well. I'm not, overly concerned about that, but he's not picking up the wickets. And I don't know, is that to do with conditions more than anything?
Oh, look, I'm not worried about his bowling at all. Conditions, I guess that's sort of, I feel like that's an easy way out. He's probably just not bowling how he wants to bowl. He's not putting it in the areas that he wants. But it's hard to measure yourself against India, who are just exceptional all throughout their top 5. Going back to what you said about Rohit Sharma, it's just so simple. Hit the ball hard and hit it straight. And the middle of his bat just looks incredibly big. But the bowlers, I think that we actually bowled all right. I didn't have an issue with how we were bowling. Lockie coming in and breaking a partnership when he needed to. Mitchell Santner, he really is bowling well, bowling great lines, bowling great lengths, bowling great speeds on the wickets that he needs to. I do have an issue with that sort of 5th bowling option. It is something we talked about as a weakness coming in to the tournament. Ravindra did a great job. Glenn Phillips did an okay job with his 2 overs, 12 runs. But if we're not taking wickets or penetrating at the top, it's hard to find it with that 5th bowling option, and it kind of turns into a consolidation sort of game, and it just puts India or the team they're playing against in a stronger position.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Just going back a couple of turns of the cog here. Ferguson comes on and dismisses Rohit Sharma and it's 1 for 70 in the 11th over. And as you say, India are away to a flyer. And then all of a sudden, out walks Virat Kohli. It must be deflating for a fielding side at that point where you finally get the breakthrough. You've bowled well. You haven't made too many mistakes. The opposition's still going at sevens, and in walks Virat, and almost immediately he's underway.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, you don't need me to tell you he's a quality player. I will say that I don't think New Zealand will fear him, and I don't think there's any sort of fear factor around him, and I think they would have thought, okay, this is a big opportunity that we can get. We get Virat here early, and it's game on. I mean, you mentioned we got one, then we got another one. Shubman Gill was out pretty quickly after that, but as I said, Shreyas Iyer came in after that, and just the way that India was able to hit boundaries, he looked $1 million today. He timed the ball better, maybe better than I've ever seen him do it. Every ball he hit seemed to be off the middle. And I think, again, DJ from Edges and Sledges was saying he'll be really disappointed with the way he went out because everyone kind of has said he's got a weakness with the short ball. And he actually hit a couple of nice ones today, but then got out to the short ball. So now everyone's going to keep bowling short at him, and he'll have to, combat that for the rest of this tournament. But I don't know. I mean, Virat Kohli is now the time we want to talk about him. It was a quality innings because, in many ways, Raj mentioned it before about the balance of their side. At every point when we got a wicket, and New Zealand did keep picking up wickets. I mean, you can kind of look at it both ways. India kept building partnerships, which is something that New Zealand wasn't really able to do other than that big partnership. India was able to put a lot of 50-run partnerships together, which really helped their cause. But all the time, I just kept thinking, okay, well, we look at that tail and you think 8, 9, 10 and Jack here, we get to that and we're in we're in big business here. But Virat just stayed firm and was always kind of the constant throughout that. And, that just makes it hard when someone is in total control. And I mean, they showed his average in successful chases, and it's 90, 90, and it's obviously gone up again with 90 odd today. So yeah, very, very impressive. I mean, anything you can add to that, Raj, about Virat? I know you would have been a bit annoyed about the way he was going for his 100 again.
Yes. Yeah, less said about that, the better. Just a couple of points to pick up on there. I think that's what India, if they look back at this match, will go, what are we disappointed about? I think they'll be disappointed that a number of them got starts and didn't finish. It was harder to get in on this pitch than it looked, I think. And that they should have probably executed a little bit better from those partnerships that they got started, as you said. Shreyas Iyer, he's played some of the best 30-run innings I've seen in this tournament. He's really looked good scoring 30, but he's just not kicking on. I don't know what that is, but he'll be looking to address that, especially with Mohammed Shami batting at 8. Your number 4 and up really need to contribute. Virat Kohli, I don't know what more I can say about him. What I love about his batting, especially when they're chasing, is his tempo. He supremely timed that chase once again. I was trying to find the stat before we came on. I think that would have been the slowest 100 of the World Cup if he had have got that. I think it was about 100. It would have been 107, 108 balls if he had scored that 6 where he had gotten out. So, based on how others are playing the game and getting in and scoring those sort of 60, 70, 80, 90 ball hundreds, that would have been slower. But he didn't need to go out and score that kind of 100. He just needed to guide India home. And he really did a great job of that. I don't know what more to say. I've run out of superlatives for Virat Kohli.
He did run out his teammate. If we want to. But anyway,
that's true.
Whose call was that? I don't know.
It was definitely Sky's call. I think, Virat sold him down the river there. But he's played pretty well today. I think he's still getting some cake in the changing rooms today.
In amongst all that praise, Shubman Gill's flown under the radar a little bit. He knocked up 2,000 ODI runs in this game in just his 38th innings. So that's fastest ever all time, nudging out Hashim Amla, who took 40 innings to get to 2,000 ODI runs. So a huge milestone for Shubman Gill. He's got a very, very exciting future, as we all know, but a nice little milestone for him. A nice little red inker for Ravi Jadeja, 39 not out to go with his excellent bowling performance. So he becomes, for me, the real key to chasing and finishing innings for India. If they're going to go with, not 4 number 11s, let's not be unkind, but if they're going to go with a longer tail and have Jadeja at 7, then he becomes crucial to their finishing, and he did an excellent job from what were they, 190 for 5 to get them through to, 270 for 6. So an all-round great performance for India. Any concerns around the New Zealand bowling, guys? I mean, the 5th bowling option for New Zealand has been mentioned as something to give a little bit of focus to. How do we think New Zealand did in that 5th bowling option in this game? Are we happy with the contributions from Ravindra and Phillips?
I thought Rachin bowled really well today, actually. I think I guess the concern is that if Rachin gets targeted or Phillips gets targeted, it does become hard because you wouldn't call Rachin Ravindra a specialist bowler at this point in his career, but I would say probably out of the 5 games that we've played, I thought he's bowled really well in 3 of them, and in a couple of them he's struggled with his lengths. But I thought today he really was able to build a few dots. He was able to not bowl the loose balls, not get hit for the boundaries. He had a couple of got a little bit unlucky at times. Ravi Jadeja smashed one, or he hit one for 6, but it went really, really high, just over the rope. Chapman falling down, slipping on the outfield. I don't think he would have got there, but it was quite hard to tell from the camera angle. But even still, I think Rachin, I was very impressed with him, and he's going to be in the same way that Jadeja is important for us. He's going to be important for India. He's going to be important for New Zealand because, as Raj mentioned, that 5th bowling option, we are that's going to be our balance for the rest of this tournament. It seems it's the way that they want to go, unless they decide to really shorten that batting lineup and remove Mark Chapman and bring in someone like Ish Sodhi or another seamer. I think we're going to be seeing that for the rest of this tournament, and it means that those guys have to do the job.
I thought, go ahead.
I was going to say, when Surya Kumar Yadav ran himself out when they were 5 for 91, we were one Virat Kohli mistake away from Australia being with India being in a little bit of trouble. Australia's always in trouble, but India could have been in some real trouble if they had been 6 for 200 chasing 270. That 5th bowling option is not a wicket-taking option. It's always going to be a holding option. And the issue comes if we're not making any inroads with the other 4 bowlers with the ball a bit newer. So, look, it is a weakness. It's something we know about. So it's not an unexpected hurdle that we need to jump over should it come up.
Yeah, I think that Ravindra and Phillips did quite well. I mean, you have a look at they bowled 11 overs for 60 odd. They only went for 6 boundaries in those 11 overs. Whereas you look at Lockie Ferguson's contribution, yes, he took 2 wickets, but he went for 11 boundaries and he went at over 7 and over. He went at almost 8 and over through his 8 overs. We know that he's going to be a little bit more expensive because he's a wicket-taking option, and it's just that the way he bowls, sometimes the quicker bowlers can go air miles. I think if New Zealand could wish for anything, it might be that Lockie is slightly more economical, or that 4th bowler is slightly more economical, and then Ravindra doesn't have to feel the pressure of having to constrict to 5 and over or thereabouts to feel like he's had a good day. But all in all, I thought the performance from Ravindra was good today, and as you said, Stu, 3 out of 5 games he's done really, really well for New Zealand, and he's contributing heavily with the bat as well. So all to the good.
Raj, we should probably, unless anyone else has anything to add, we should look a little bit ahead for New Zealand's run. We've got now a run of tough games, at least on paper, against Australia, South Africa, and Pakistan. I guess what I was going to say, concerned or anything like that, but I think it's more around what are we sort of expecting from these next few games, and what do we want to see out of them in terms of New Zealand's performance? Do they have to change anything from the way they went about things today, particularly this Australia game? You mentioned the other day, Australia is back. Australia is always sort of in many ways, a bogey side for us in this tournament.
Not in group play, it's not.
How important is it that we don't kind of, how important is it that we get back on track pretty quickly in this tournament rather than, hoping that we can, get one or two more wins and squeeze into the semi-finals.
Yeah, when I was looking at this fixture, India, New Zealand, fifth round, both teams are unbeaten. I wasn't as worried about the result of this. The next game is very, very important. We need to play a good game against Australia, and I think that we're a good enough side that if we execute what we want to do, it'll be enough to beat Australia in their current form. Then South Africa, then Pakistan. Those are all games that I want to see us dictate terms a little bit. I'm not saying we need to go out there and dominate everybody, but we need to go out there and play our game and execute the skills that we want to do. I'm fairly confident over the next 3 games. I guess we'll have this conversation in 14 days' time, I guess, around where we sort of sit with things. But I'm looking forward to the games going forward, and it'll be a great indicator of where this side is at, which I think that they're at where they are in the tournament is representative of where they're at currently.
Nice. Anything else we want to add before we wrap up? I think it's Afghanistan, Pakistan tomorrow, if I'm correct. As I said, I'm running on a few hours sleep today. These New Zealand games really do prove a challenge for me in terms of sleep, trying to figure out when to get that little window. Raj, you look like you want to say something before I finish up.
I was just going to say the power of prayer. Obviously, you were praying for fog during that Indian batting innings when they looked like they were getting away. There was a little fog break around 100 for 2 with India.
Oh, look, no. I was a bit sort of confused by it. It's, in all honesty, it was just weird that that kind of happened, and I would have certainly, in hindsight, I would certainly have taken a fogged out game and steal a point, but. I was still at that point. I was still kind of confident that New Zealand could chip away a wicket or two and make it pretty tough. And that proved to be the case, except for the Virat Kohli innings that got them across the line. So yeah, look, all in all, not the greatest performance from New Zealand. I think both sides actually will probably get a lot from the outing. I think both sides will feel that they can play better in certain facets of the game, and hopefully that holds them in good stead going on in the rest of this tournament. The top order will be in good stead for the rest of this tournament. We'll be back tomorrow morning and every day in this World Cup. Amazing that we've made it to 18 days. We've managed to get through every single morning so far. A few technical difficulties at various points for all of us, but I hope you're enjoying the content we're putting out. We've had a whole bunch of other stuff. I mentioned, and I had a bit of a chat with Edges and Sledges. Baldy and I were on Fan Wars, on Fan Code and Crick Fan TV. So yeah, if you're not getting enough of us with these daily updates, you can find out some more in those places. But yeah, if you are enjoying it, please do like and subscribe and comment. It really does make a big impact, and we're really enjoying all the feedback we're getting from everyone and interacting with you all during this tournament. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.